Hey everyone, it's Coach Mason, and today we are training arms. I was really excited for this workout since I don't often have a chance to throw a direct bicep and tricep workout into my routines just because of the focus that I'm doing with the compound lifts right now. But with my bodybuilding goals in the forefront, I think having an arm day, especially for me, with my arms being somewhat of a weak point, I feel that I need to have a day where I come in and just hit my biceps and triceps as hard as I can. So we are starting off with the easy bar curl here today. This is something I kind of bounce back and forth in terms of what my favorite bicep exercise is, either easy bar or straight bar. These felt pretty dang good. I know on an easy bar you don't get quite as much supination, but I still feel that I'm getting a really good contraction of my bicep in the peak position. And then at the bottom, a decent stretch with the way that I'm standing. I'm kind of arching my shoulders back just a little bit so that in that bottom position, I feel a good stretch. Up to my top weight here, we got 75 pounds. And my goal with this was just to get a very, very solid, simple 3 sets of 10. And I end up doing that. My last couple reps of each set are a little bit sloppy. I end up having a little bit of thoracic lean as I get those last couple reps, but not super disappointed with it. Like I said, I feel like I'm getting a really good contraction. I feel like I hit my biceps hard today. Biceps is one of those muscle groups where I feel like it is a struggle to make it sore. It's a struggle to get enough stimulus for me. I feel like I really, really have to focus, or I really have to just dig in and get a lot of volume. Now, like with some of the other body parts I've discussed, I don't typically come into the gym and do a whole bunch of sets. I like to get some very intense sets and then kind of just go from there, maybe do some back off work afterwards. And biceps and triceps are no different. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why my biceps are as lagging as they are. Maybe I do need to just get in and do more volume. So today we chose 3 exercises for each body part, biceps and triceps, and we just got some quality work in. Now, as we go into the last set here, I could definitely tell a difference in the amount of rest that I needed to take between reps. I really, really like kind of just doing straight sets for biceps because, for me, I'm not super well conditioned when it comes to getting a lot of volume. So these felt really, really hard as I get into the last couple of sets, especially with the later exercises as we go along. It's something that I personally need to work on. Like I said before, I just need to come in and get the work in. I just need to do it. But for some reason, I'm the type of person who I would rather come in and hit 1 or 2 really, really heavy sets and then go home, as opposed to doing some lighter work and then really just digging in and doing it. But that's something that will, I think, improve over time as I continue to add volume. Now, skull crushers. With these, in the past, I've liked the variation where you go behind the head and you get a full stretch of the tricep, incorporate the long head a little bit more by having that shoulder extension as part of the movement. But today, we're kind of just going to the chin here, getting as much of a stretch as I can in that bottom position before I power through. This is something that's actually felt pretty dang easy compared to what it has felt like in the past. And I attribute that to the extra focus that I've been taking on pressing. Now, this is something that's is a little controversial, not necessarily controversial, but just in terms of my own training. In the past, I used to think that training triceps too much could be a detriment to your pressing. But then I started to kind of delve down into the West Side rabbit hole with guys like Dave Tate and Matt Winning, who really promote just hammering the heck out of your triceps any chance you get. Because the triceps tend to be a muscle that can tolerate a lot of volume, it can tolerate a lot of work without really risking much injury, and you can push the elbows much harder than you can push the shoulders. So triceps is something that I have wanted to incorporate a little bit more, even on my pressing days. Like if I hit a chest day, I may as well throw a tricep exercise at the end. So that's something that I'm going to experiment a little bit more with in the future. But for this program, we're just kind of hitting the same amount as biceps. Now, going into these hammer curls, these actually felt awesome. I feel with hammers, I get a really, really good pump fairly quickly. So as I get into those later sets, it's really, really starting to burn. But that's good. That's something that I need for the biceps. So now, why did I pick hammer curls over something like a more isolation exercise or a cable variation? The main reason for me is because, taking Rich Piana's advice, which you gotta take some of his advice with a grain of salt, he would often recommend hammer curls to work the entire arm. You get the forearm, you get the brachialis, you get even a little bit of shoulder, depending on how heavy you go. But as opposed to a variation where you get that supination, this is something that works a little bit more well-rounded for the entire arm. And my arms being a weak point, that is something that I need. I need to just kind of make everything bigger as opposed to just the peak or just a certain head of the bicep. I'm not really worried about that, so you guys are not going to see a whole lot of preacher curls or spider curls from me at the moment. But like I said, these felt pretty dang good. I like hammer curls a lot. Weight-wise, I think I probably could have gone a little bit lighter and focused on getting more of a contraction or maybe even a fuller range of motion coming up to the top position, but I'm not disappointed with these. Even looking at the footage, it looks like I'm doing half reps, but they felt really, really good. And I think that for a muscle like biceps, it's different than when you're training something like a squat or a bench press, where I'm a real stickler about the range of motion. I think with a muscle group like this, it's important to just get as much of a stimulus as you can and not really worry as much about the technique. So I'm happy with these. All right, overhead tricep extensions. Now this is one of my favorite exercises for triceps. Debated on if I wanted to do this with a cable on this today, but I figured that with the amount of setup time, it would have just taken a little bit longer, so we went with dumbbell. Now these, I'm really focusing on just coming down as far as I can, getting a good stretch, and then trying to get as high as I possibly can at the end. With the way that I'm holding this dumbbell, it is a little bit hard on the wrists in that top position, so I'm not getting a full lockout, which that's one thing that a cable variation would have done a little bit better. But with the weight that I'm using, I was relatively happy with how these felt. This angle is kind of funny because you can see my camera. I actually have a magnet mounted camera on the leg press machine, and it is very, very slowly moving downwards throughout the range of this set. So you guys will be able to see that a little bit kind of as this goes along. But really, really like the feel of this exercise in terms of the amount of stimulus that it gets to the tricep. I feel that my triceps are typically better off with exercises that allow for a really, really deep stretch, like these or skull crushers. All right, finishing up here, we have cable curls with the rope attachment. Now these, I wanted to just get as much of a pump as I possibly could in as little amount of time. So I only do one set here to finish off biceps and triceps. Now I'm going for kind of just max contraction with these first 10 reps or so. And then the second 10 reps, I'm gonna go a little faster, as you guys can see here. And then on the last 5 reps, we're just trying to burn them out as much as possible. And this felt really, really good. I felt like I got more of a pump than I usually do with my biceps. And from someone who struggles to develop the biceps, that is really, really good. So I'm gonna be finishing off both muscle groups like this from the next couple of months, or for the next couple of months at least. Now triceps felt similar. This actually felt a little harder, even though I used a slightly less amount of weight. Typically my triceps are stronger than my biceps, but I guess just with this angle, maybe with this attachment, didn't feel quite as good. But definitely the next day, my triceps were killing me. My biceps were a little bit sore when I flexed them, but triceps definitely got hit a little bit harder on this day. All right, going into posing. Now posing for the arms is something that I've never really struggled with, even though they've been a weak point. I mean, I've always felt a pretty good connection with them in certain poses. But I really just need to work, and you guys will see here when I do my front double bicep pose, I need to work on getting that bicep peak to come up higher than my shoulder. Right there, you guys can see it's slightly lower on that right side and just about even on that left side, or the right side, excuse me. So, or the left side, I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. I really just want to get the kind of silver era old school look when it comes to having those bicep peaks go up over the top of the shoulder. Now in terms of overall mass, fairly happy with where I am. I mean, my biceps have caught up to the rest of my body a little bit more than they used to be in the past. But I do think that for my goals in bodybuilding and competition prep, I need to get them to be a little bit more of a strong point. in terms of just, really popping on stage. And, that way people, when they see what I look like, or specifically with the judges' point of view, I want them to really be a strong point for me. But that's one thing. I mean, one thing that separates like a bodybuilder from just a normal athlete or a strongman or a powerlifter is the bicep peak. It's how much can you get those muscles to really pop and display on the physique when you do your poses. And especially up from the back, you can barely see those peaks. So something I really need to work on. But had a great workout today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a good one.